I'm in Shenandoah National Park, and I am back at the Piedmont picnic area, also called Turn Bridge. That's US Route 211. Going to be heading up there and getting on Pass Mountain Trail. Here's the parking area. The Blue Bomber in all of its radiant glory. And we're going to close up the Bomber and head up here, and I'm going to cross over the stream up here and look for some homesteads on the west side of the creek. The elevation here is 1,400 feet. Alrighty, here's the head of the Pass Mountain Trail. That's where we're going. Here's the hairpin turn. There's a, well, that's a replacement guardrail. Looks like it's already seen a little action. And the parking's down there around the turn. Now, I'm not going very far up this trail, and then I'm going to turn left and cross the creek. Okay, well, I hiked up the trail to this sign here, and the old road is down there. I can see the rock wall. You can't really go in down there where the road starts because these big trees have been blown down, and it's crazy overgrown now. So I'm going to head down this way and come over here and try and cross the creek. I'm just going to pick a convenient spot to cross. Okay, well, here's the road heading down towards the creek. This is the low side of the road, all armored up. Creek's right over there. And this is looking back towards US 211 into the glare. So here we go. Okay, well, I'm across the creek. Here's the road I'm going to follow up. And there's where it crosses the creek, right down there. And US 211's down that way. So let's head on up here. The first family home site I'm looking for is Pullen. P-U-L-L-E-N. Here's a shot looking up the road. You can see how eroded it is. It's probably between 5 and 6 feet deep. There's the right hand side armored up. There's the left hand side armored up. So let's head on up. .27 miles into my hike. The elevation here is 1,480 feet. And here's a pretty long rock wall. It looks like it starts way over there where the mountain gets steep and comes on down through here. Maybe 4 feet high at this point. And continuing on down that way takes you down to the road. So, and then there's this little separate rock pile right there. And another separate little pile right there. So, and this looks like this is on this Pullen homestead site. So here's a rock wall. Could be a driveway going up in there. I'll have to climb up and take a look. But anyway, there's one thing. I'll mark that with my GPS. 3/10 of a mile into my hike, I'm up to 1,510 feet. Now, there was definitely a bunch of stuff here because there's a series of rock piles. I'll do a 360 to show you. That's heading up into the steep part of the mountain there. The driveway, or the road's behind me. Here's one of the rock piles. There's one up there. There's one there. There's another one over there. Here's one directly behind me, rock pile here. Hard to see, but there's another one over there. That's the way I came. And then back around to this first rock pile. So, and this is up on some fairly nice ground, so definitely something going on here. 4/10 of a mile into my hike. I'm up to 1,510 feet. And this is looking like I'm standing at the low side of a road or a driveway that heads up to nowhere at this point. But there's the low side, armored up. And it's heading on down that way, which takes you down to the main road and possibly across the creek. So the terrain here is starting to close in on me, so I'm going to move down closer to the creek. I got to go around this big hill here to further investigate. So let's head on down this way. .42 miles into my hike. The elevation here is 1513, fairly flat here. I am standing at the location of the Pullen Homestead site on the 1933 map. That's looking up into the hollow. I don't see anything here. The main part of the creek is over there. And I crossed what I thought was a creek, but I think what it is right there, I think what that is the road. It's turned itself into a creek over the years. So anyway, the rest of what I want to explore is up this way, upstream. So let's go up this way until I either get tired of hiking or maybe we find some interesting stuff. All right, here's the spring. You can see where it was dug into the side of the mountain and then armored up on the high side. And it drains down that way towards the creek. I don't see any water flowing right now, but everything looks wet here. Also, it hadn't rained here for quite a while, so I suspect it's got some flow, decent flow after it rains. I'll get the location with the GPS. All right, here's a series of rock walls. I think it's probably terracing. If there was an apple orchard here or some kind of orchard. Down there's the road and the creek. And then there's no obvious connection down to that road. So I think they came up here, that's flat. And then, I don't know, they started this starts getting steeper here, so they terraced it off. There, and then up there's another section of it. And then I'm standing on a section. The low side is where that big tree is right there. And then looking down that way, that looks like there was like a road going up in through there. And then if you go much beyond this, I mean, the mountain gets really, really steep here. So any kind of living and growing would have been down here. So I'll mark this with the GPS also. I'm heading around the side of the mountain to the left. This, I'm following, at this point I'm following what looks like a road on Pullen property. Right there looks like the main road. And then over there, a little further, maybe you can hear it, is the creek. We're going to head on up this way. Seven-tenths of a mile into my hike. I'm up to 1,615 feet. It's the way I came from. I've been hiking on the, I guess, south side of the creek. This is the Pullen property. Really steep up there. And I've been following, let me step down here for a second. I've been following this road, but the next home site I want to look for, which is Clark, last name Clark, is on the other side of the creek. So I'm thinking about getting off this area here. Looks like it'd be okay to cross over. So, matter of fact, there's a blown down tree right there I can use. So I think I'm going to abandon this road and cross over and continue heading up that way until I get to the coordinates for the Clark property. I'll see if I can see anything if I get up that far, and then on my way back I may just stay on that side of the creek for a ways and head on back on that side, because down there near where I came in is Atkins, which I've already been to, but we can stop by there again. So let me turn this off and see about getting across this creek. Whew, man, that was harder to get across than it looks. There's a creek coming down. The sides over on this side are steep. And I was over there, last video I was over there. Really steep stuff there. Heading downstream, I crossed over, came up that steep bank, and now I'm looking at a rock wall, and I think I see part of a chimney up over there. I'm going to go check that out too. I'll mark the rock wall and the chimney, and look what's sitting right next to it. I'm not sure whose land this is. I'll have to check that out when I get home. .74 miles into my hike. The elevation here is 1,630 feet. Somebody definitely had a homestead here. There's part of the chimney. The creek, I'm on the north side of the creek now. This is the creek down there, and I was hiking on that side over there, but I crossed over. But I didn't know this was even here. I'm going further upstream looking for Matthias Clark's place, I think, is where he lived. Anyway, here's the chimney. I'll get a GPS location of this unknown home site and take a look at the maps when I get home and see if there's anything on them. Okay, well, next to the chimney home site is there's a wall all armored up. There's the chimney, and here's the wall. I guess I'll get on top of it to find out if it's a road or not. Could be. Comes down through here. Okay, well, just a little upstream from the chimney is the spring. Here's the spring right here. Dug into the side of the hill and armored up. And it drains down into the creek. I see a little bit of water in there. And look at that. I guess I'll climb down there and get a closer picture of that. Galvanized tub. Nine-tenths of a mile into my hike. I'm up to 1,690 feet. And maybe you can tell from this video, but the closer I get to the next homestead, the worse overgrown it gets. See that? Really, really nasty stuff. I've been doing this now for like an hour and a half, so and I've got to get back. So I don't think I'm going to push any further today. It's about another 2/10 of a mile to where Matthias Clark homestead was, but I don't know that there's anything there. There could be, but anyway, I don't feel like pushing through 1,000 feet of this stuff. So the creek's down there, and I think I'm gonna start my return back on this side. My car's parked on the other side of the creek, but I'm gonna head back this way for a while. And I think I'm gonna stay up high like I am right now, up high above the creek, trying to stay out of the nasty as much as possible. .2 miles into my hike. The elevation here is 1,560 feet. That's the way I came. I followed all the way on the north side of the creek. I managed to get all the way back to here. And it's flattening out quite a bit now. And here's a rock wall. I'm within about 150 feet of some kind of LiDAR figure I saw over here. This is Pullen and Atkins homestead site. Here's a wall. This area here is nice and flat. The creek's over there. I went up the creek over there on the other side. Now this right here is dug out. This right here is dug out. It looks a lot like a spring. It is armored up some on the top. It's a little wider than most. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, I can see a little bit of flow there. And then it flows on down into the creek. Now eventually I got to pick a spot down here and cross back over. I might go right there. We'll see. That looks pretty good. But first I got to explore this side over here. And I'll mark the location for the wall and for this spring. .25 miles into my hike. The elevation here is 1,540 feet. And I believe this is the Pullen and Atkins homestead site. I'll double check, but this matched up pretty closely with the old map for a location. It's a little bit closer to the water than where I was wandering around, which was back in there. But anyway, there's looks like it was dug in a little bit there and armored up. And this side over here was built up. Okay, so which would make all that in there a nice level spot. And also, right over there I see a metal container, so I'll give a picture of that. All right, and then after that, I'm going to start heading out of here now. I should push through all this nasty and cross the creek, but I think what I'm going to do instead, because my car's on this side of the creek, I think what I'm going to do is head over there to where the mountain gets steep and follow that down this way to a convenient spot and then climb up onto the Pass Mountain Trail, which is a trail I came up on. But first I'll get a few stills of this area over here. Just getting ready to leave this area, and I saw this hole in the ground. This is the more rectangular areas down there, which is where I think the homestead was. I marked this location with my GPS. I don't know, it's dug down a couple of feet, but it's fairly wide. See that? Starts over there and comes around over here. Not sure what this was, but I'll get the location and see if I can make any sense out of it. Yeah, it's awfully big to be a spring, and there's no water in it. So maybe it was a root cellar or something here, or something with a little bit of a dig out. I'm working my way over to Pass Mountain Trail, trying to go around all the nasty. Here's the old road coming down. It's a pretty steep road. And then the Pass Mountain Trail where I'm going is up there a ways, but if I kind of go at an angle like this, eventually the trail will come down to meet me. .47 miles into my hike. The elevation here is 1610. Oh man, I'm sitting on a rock I need oxygen. That climb up here, I'm on Pass Mountain Trail. I came onto the trail right up there. Down over the edge here, I'll show you. Whew, man, that was harder than it looked on the topo map. Well, way down there somewhere is the Pullen and Atkins homestead. Oh, the creek's down there, and it's about, well, let me look at my GPS. It's about 3/10 of a mile down this trail back to my car. This is a map of today's hike. The quadrangle name is Thornton Gap, 1994. And the purpose of this hike was to explore this hollow that is just north of what's called the Piedmont Picnic Area, also known as Turnbridge. This is US Route 211, heading up the mountain towards Thornton Gap, which is up here. You park right here. And let's see, I was looking at number 1 was owned by Samuel Pullen. This area and this area here was Samuel Pullen's property. This one over here is Pullen and Atkins, and he owned this property in through here. And then over here is Matthias Clark, and he owned this property over here. Now originally I was going to come all the way up to here, but you'll see in a second I didn't get that far. Come up to the turn and get on Pass Mountain Trail. Now I skipped this over here, I forget, oh that's Pullen and Atkins. I skipped that one, didn't get around to it. I was going to catch that on the way back, but I never went over there. Anyway, as soon as you get onto Pass Mountain Trail, you'll notice that there's an old abandoned road down here, just slightly closer to the creek. You get on that old abandoned road and cross over the creek. And then when I got up here in this area indicated by the number 1, this is Samuel Pullen's property. I found in this area here, I found a bunch of rock piles and some terracing and probably what was some old driveway action going on there. Continued on up into the hollow. Now my next stop was going to be number 3 here. And then I was going to cross the creek. But when I got up to here, I changed my mind because it looked like it was fairly easy to get across the creek right here. So I went across the creek, and then I was going to just simply bushwhack over here to site number 4. But as soon as I crossed the creek, I found a wall, a stone wall, and then a little further, a chimney. When I got home, I checked these coordinates, and this is part of the same property as this house down here. And the appraisal for this property showed 2 dwellings. It showed the main house, and it also showed a tenant house. So I think this was the tenant house up here. Nothing left really but a little bit of the foundation, and part of the chimney still stands. Just beyond that, I found the spring. And then when I got to right here, all of a sudden it got super overgrown and nasty. So I decided not to try going any further. Hopefully you can see from the video that it's just becoming very, very difficult to go any further. So I turned around and stayed on the north side of the creek and came back down to this site right here. Explored that some more. I've been to this area before. And then instead of coming back down this way, I decided to just, because that's going through the nasty, I decided to stay higher on the mountain, and I came over here and got on past Mountain Trail about here and back down to my car. Now let me show you the old map here for a second. This is Stony Man, 1933. This is Turnbridge right here. And here's the old road shown here with dashed lines coming up through this hollow. And these black squares here, here, and here represent the homesteads. I was gonna come over here to this waypoint 3 because there has to be some reason why they showed this road continuing up here and then just stopping. So I was going to go up here to see what was going on there, but I changed my mind and crossed over. And right about there's where I found that that chimney. Fairly short, but it took forever. It was 1.9 miles. Look, it took me 3 hours and 8 minutes with a total ascent of 381 feet. And that's the hike for today.